for being involved. You know, when I started to look for the theme for tonight, and I was, it was one or two things. It was going to either going to be a song that staying alive, or it was going to be I Will Survive, one of the two, but I was looking for the movie. So basically, Saturday Night Fever came up as the song, and then I started, well, I'm staying alive. So I went back and looked at the lyrics of the song. The song was written by the Bee Gees back in the 1977, but basically, the story behind the song was that the Bee Gees were writing about their struggle. They were living in New York. So the struggle to stay alive in the city of New York is the reason why they kind of wrote the song. It was a very serious meaning behind the song, but everybody, used it as a disco song. But later on in 1983, when Saturday Night Fever came along, and John Travolta, the leading character as Tony Manero in the movie, actually moved from Brooklyn to Manhattan, New York, because he wanted to be a professional dancer. And basically, the struggles in being a professional dancer, me being a dancer myself, know the struggles in being disciplined to be able to do what he needed to do. And he ended up, disciplining himself, changing his lifestyle, not drinking, and doing a lot of those things. If you guys saw the movie, and pretty much became the dancer that he wanted to become. So that was kind of the story behind the reason why I chose Staying Alive as my theme for tonight. So you can go to the next slide, Jessica. And then also I was kind of struggling with the topic, survivor and caregiver. I just to introduce myself. My name is Sharon Hall. I'm actually will be a 10-year cancer breast cancer survivor in November of next month, and I had inflammatory breast cancer, and I'm a survivor from breast cancer. And I came up with this quote, which came from, you can see I put the source down here, wishesmessage.com. It says, cancer lost the battle against you because it originally planned to make you weaker, but inadvertently made you stronger. Now that you have survived, thank the disease for helping you discover the fighter within. I thought that was very apropos for tonight and for any survivor and any caregiver that's on. In fact, giving chill bumps just saying that quote. Basically, anybody who's on the line right now, because if you're a survivor, you are here. You have won the fight against the disease. So you can actually go to the next slide. And this is where everyone can take a part. And hopefully, we can get the whiteboard to work correctly for us. I have one question as an icebreaker to all of you guys. Since we're getting ready to go into the Thanksgiving holiday season and the month of Thanksgiving, I want you guys to write down using the whiteboard if you can. If not, use the chat. Those of you that are, unfortunately, those of you that are on the phone, maybe you can eventually, I'll ask you if you want to tell me what you're thankful for. But just quickly, say, what are you thankful for? What are the things or a person or anything that you're thankful for currently right now? We give you a few minutes. Somebody said thankful for kidney stones. They found my kidney cancer. Huh. I guess if you hadn't had any kidney stones, they would never have found the kidney cancer. That's something to be thankful for. Anybody else? And don't be shy. My hubby, kids keep me moving. Gift of traveling. Thankful for your family. Thankful for my breast cancer. Yes. Found a brain tumor. Oh my goodness. I can't keep up with the chat here. For health, 36 years of, of surviving cancer. Okay. My family and my health. Thankful for my friends. Hmm. Thankful for a wonderful family. Hmm. Thankful for the many blessings, family, friends, my family, a lot of family. What would we do without family? I just think about when I was going through my treatment, what have I done without my sisters going to the oncologist with me when I was going through chemotherapy? My family, friends, my students, coworkers, colleagues, my angels, okay? My relay volunteers, amazing coworkers. Great, great. And the reason why I ask this because there's been a study, the health study behind being thing. Keep them coming while I'm talking. There's been a study behind the benefits of being grateful. having the attitude of gratefulness. And they said basically it includes physical symptoms, like if you get fewer physical symptoms, more time spent exercising, less physical pain, more sleep, and increased sleep, quality of life, lower blood pressure, decreased feelings of depression, and an overall boost to vitality and energy. Just think if you have an attitude of gratitude every day, how some of the things that we're going through, it kind of disseminates those things. And this kind of leads into what I'm talking about survivors and caregivers. It's, as I open up the conversation about surviving caregivers for Relay, we think about sometimes this is the population of people that we don't get enough of them at our event. And the reason why you think there are we always say there are guests of honor at Relay, but a lot of times relays struggle to get survivors there. I was going to put up a slide that said pretty much that survivors don't wear on the back a sign on the back and say that I'm a survivor. You have to talk to them and they'll start sharing their stories and things like that, and you find out that they're a survivor. But a reason what we have Relay is not only to honor them, but also disseminate information that survivors may need. Many people in our community that need the information that ACS has. And basically, if we don't get them there, they'll never get that information. So next slide, Jessica. Thank you. Keep them coming because we're going to keep this all in the chat. So I thought I would give a definition of what is a survivor, because I've had people that say, well, I didn't go through treatment, so I'm not a survivor. So basically the definition is anyone that has been diagnosed with cancer from the time of his or her diagnosis to the balance of his or her life. You're always a survivor, whether you in remission or not. And a caregiver is any family member, loved one, friend, or other support person who lends emotional or physical support during a survivor's cancer journey. Whether the cancer survivor is here or not, you're a caregiver. So whether you've gone through treatment, say, there's people that have had cancer and had to, and did not have to go through any type of treatment, you're still a survivor. Next slide. So in one word, this is what really I would like to find out from you guys. What has been your experience at Relay? In one word, how would you describe your best survivor and or caregiver experience at Relay? In one word, very good, bad, or indifferent. What has been your experience? You can put it overwhelming, moving, inspirational, touching, emotional, eye-opening, heartwarming, beautiful. Keep it coming. Has anybody had any bad experiences at Relay where maybe you didn't really do very much for survivors or caregivers and they were just a mourning experience and not something going on throughout your event? Special. I wanted to capture these thoughts. I want you guys to really think, maybe a little stale. That's being honest and Brett. I've seen caregivers who do not have a survivor still living feel, okay, don't know where to go and how to be included. That's very good, Jessica. You brought that up. Hopefully we can explore that tonight with the presentation that I'll be doing. We're going to talk a little bit, we're going to dig a little bit deeper into how can we improve, important and inspirational, okay? All right. Okay, next slide, Jessica. So we're going to talk about survivor recruitment, getting them there. Some of the things, I mean, there's been tools, there's been resources on the previous uh, a meeting that we just had that talks about where to find resources. But when it comes down to survivor recruitment, we got to figure out how we're going to get these people there. Where are we going to find these folks? So number one, you need to partner with, and we got hospital staff that work for ACS that have connection with hospitals that can be a resource for us to get information out to cancer survivors that may be going through treatment. We can create, a lot of times we've been talking about sharing your story, using some survivors within your network or within your events that maybe have had some benefits from using ACS services. They're willing to put together some sort of video in order that we can share with others. I keep, okay. And also, somebody said, "What is the ACS cancer control?" It used to be called our hospital staff. They got a new name. They're a hospital staff. They work with the local hospitals. So to answer that question, that person that put in the chat, um, contact your local cancer support groups. Invite them. Let them know we're looking for survivors for your event. What about your churches, civic groups, your senior centers, and other organizations? Every organization, I don't care what business it is, has cancer survivors. I don't care who it is. Someone asked a question, how do you know who your cancer control staff is? You need to get with your staff partner to find the cancer control staff that's in your area that can help us tap into the local hospitals. And what about providing an incentive to your current registered survivors to recruit other survivors? Survivors know other survivors. Like when I go to events, like I know people that, was in the hospital where I go, and I see them often because I'm still under the oncologist. So I see cancer survivors all the time. So what if I took some literature, or what if I took a flyer or invitation to all those people that are sitting in the waiting room to get served? Here, we're having a local event in the area. We'd like to invite you. Here's my number. You want to contact me or whatever, being your own resource, or we can send out actual formal invitations. I was talking to a volunteer earlier before we started our meetings today, is that we can send out invitations. If we have a list of people, and we'll talk about that later about lists, is that we can send out invitation inviting them to come to your event. You can send out invitation to any business in your area. Say if you have cancer survivors or people that are going through treatment right now with cancer, we'd like to invite you to our local event. And you'd be surprised at people that may show up. So getting them there is one of the probably the hardest thing, is trying to find them. Is like you got to look up under every rock to try to find a survivor, because remember, they're not going to tell you who they are unless you're in their network. Unless you're going to, right now the hospitals are, you can't really get in. They're like Fort Knox. You can't really get in. Even anybody who's going through treatment can't not bring someone in with them. So you're not going to be able to get into that network, but you can sure get them when they come out. You can stand outside the treatment centers and say, I just want to hand out a flyer. I just want to, you just went through treatment, but I want to invite you to our local event. Someone said pharmacies and home health companies are great to recruit survivors and caregivers too. Yes. My mom has a home health nurse that's coming to see her on a regular basis. Tap into their network. You got to just think, one day, just do a brainstorming session of thinking all the places I can find anyone that's either going through treatment, have gone through treatment, has finished treatment, that's in remission. Where can I find all these people? Okay, next slide, Jessica. Some of the things about survivor engagement, why it's so important. This is kind of some background information. About 1 out of 4 cancer survivor reported decreased quality of life because of physical problems, and 1 out of 10 reported a decrease because of emotional problems. Survivors who have lower income, less education, more health problems, inadequate health insurance, or who are a part of a minority group report worse quality of life. For some survivors, these problems keep them from being able to work or participate fully in community events. Imagine how many groups are in your community that fall into this group. They don't want to come out. They fully participate in your community events, or family roles, or can increase healthcare costs down the road. So these are people that are sitting on the sidelines that you'll never ever be able to tap into. They know nothing about you. I tell people my story. When I was diagnosed with cancer back in 2010, I lived in a community that had a relay that had been there for several years. I knew nothing about Relay for Life. In fact, when I was diagnosed with cancer, where I went to get my resources, because I live in the area where City of Hope is, I went there to get literature. I didn't think of tapping into a local relay until I was hired by ACS right when I came out of my treatment and getting information. I didn't really know that there was a wig bank that was locally that I could go and get a wig. I ended up purchasing 2 wigs, which I could have gotten wigs free. So there's so much, you know, we're a well kept secret. People don't know about us. Just getting disseminating information to the community to let people know that our resources are free, that they can tap into to get help for what they need. Next slide. So, how can we engage survivors, activities at our event? Why are activities so important? We think about, okay, we're going to get the survivors to our event. We're going to have our opening ceremony. They're going to walk the track and we're going to have a survivor breakfast for them, and then hopefully we'll have some activities. But just think about the reason why we need to have activities, as they say here, is essential in boosting the mental and physical health of the survivor to stay connected with family, friends, and other survivors. Just think, when they come to your event, they're meeting with other survivors. They're meeting with friends and family. Building a strong social bond will improve their life significantly. Can you imagine just coming, sitting next to somebody that's going through treatment like I'm going through, and we're sharing stories with each other, building a bond with each other? It's making me feel better because I'm feeling I'm not alone anymore. I'm not by myself. So because survivors have feelings of being isolated because they feel like they're on an island by themselves going through treatment all alone by themselves. So that's why is another reason why it's important to have activities at your event that keep that bond of connection, because they're going to get exchange numbers and phone numbers with people and email addresses with other people that are there, but they're going to feel like they're a part of something. So the needs for survivors is also, we need to make sure that the needs are being met. They need patient education, so you can build an activity around that. They need cancer rehabilitation. They need nutrition, so can you provide nutrition information? They need exercise. When you have aerobics going on or whatever you want to do, Zumba, whatever going on, smoking cessation programs to quit smoking. Right now with Great American Smokeout, psychosocial care. And what about palliative care? Looking at the whole person. We can build programs and activities around just these needs of the survivors, just knowing what their needs are. So that's why engagement and having activities are so important at our event. I'm not looking at the chat, so I know there's so much me going on in that chat that I'm not looking at. So there's going to be those of you that are participating will get the other resources. I'm only going to show you 3 activities you can possibly have at your event. So Jessica, if you can hit the next slide, these are kind of 3 activities, suggestions that you can have. A fabric of hope. Some of you may have already done, especially in the southern states, and more so than here in California. We too, as they say, we're too bougie in California. We don't want to do stuff like this. We're building a quilt. So I come from a line of quilters, so that's nothing that's not foreign to me. But building a survivor quilt where everyone brings a square that represents their cancer journey, and they're going to put that piece of their square with another person's square to create a quilt of hope, which will be displayed at their event. Another type of activity is Survivors Got Talent. How about having a talent show where you have your survivors, your caregiver, maybe medical staff in a local area, and maybe have a celebrity judge that judge them and do a video of Survivors Got Talent. And what about surviving into the future? I really like this activity. You're setting a stage for something in the future. So the survivors come dressed as their future self, what they want to be in the future, or who they want to be in the future. So these are just some suggestions of activities, and I have a whole list of them that you'll get when you get the resource package. There's some ideas of what type of activities you can do at your event. So if there's any questions, let me know, Jessica, if there's any questions popping in. So the next one is survivor retention, keeping them involved. Most importantly, when it comes to survivor and caregivers, hopefully most events have volunteers that are responsible for being leads in this area. But you need to sign volunteers that are possibly survivors and caregivers because they speak the language. They know what it's all about. So you want to have people that are assigned in a role that are actually preferably a survivor or caregiver. And you want to stay connected with your survivors all year round, starting with a list of your registered survivors. And so, only way you're going to be connected is you know who they are. So, you need to create what they call a timeline or create a year round calendar to stay connected with your survivors via email, mail, or phone. And I put a special note down there because you need to work with your staff partner to obtain your survivor list. However, we need to honor the communication profiles, and when people register, they register, tell us how they want us to communicate with them. So we have what they call suppressions, meaning that some people may not want to be contacted by email. Some people may not want to be contacted by phone or mail. We need to honor those. And so these are what we call very secluded lists. These are lists that you're not going to keep year after year. You only use it for what you need it for, and those lists need to be destroyed. And we start with a new list the next year. But we need to, in order to keep in contact or keep touches with our survivors, we need to have a calendar. So that's on the next page. If you can give me the next slide. So this is actually a list of calendar of activities you're going to see on the next slide. Hopefully I put that on the PowerPoint, which I think I put it in out of order, but you should get it on the next one. This is year-round calendar activity suggestions. As you can see, in January, it's National Popcorn Day. February, send a card to a friend day. You got Valentine's Day, St. Patrick's Day, World Health Day. Volunteer recognition is in April. Senior Health and Fitness Day. National Cancer Survivor Day is in June. National Hydration Day. What a better day to tell people to drink more water, stay more healthier. National Relaxation Day. World Health and Fitness Day in September. National Coffee Day in October. And in November, which I didn't put on here, is National Family Caregiver Month. So if you can turn to the next slide, you're going to see when you're sitting down, your survivor and caregiver leads are sitting down thinking about the survivors, not just for your event day. How can we stay in contact with them all year round? You're going to build what they call an engagement calendar. As you see all these colors, I only plugged in a couple of things like National Survivor Day, which is in June, which is that green, or our national cancer survival. Well, I guess I put it in the wrong spot because it's green and it was on the other side. But anyway, you guys get the gist of where I was going with this. So basically, you're going to put together a calendar, and this is going to be in the resource, is a Word doc that you can use, that you can pull together something where you got 12 touches a year to your survivors. You're doing something to keep in contact with them so they know you're still alive out there, the relay is still alive, and that you can send out educational pieces about any new studies and research that's going on, but you want to make sure you have an engagement calendar where you can stay involved with your survivors all year round, not just when the event pops up. So survivors, when they come around for your event, they're already going to know about the event because you already been in contact with them. So this is going to be a resource for all you guys to use for your event, so you can actually plug in the things that you want to plug in for your event. And last but not least, I wanted to make sure that on the next slide, Jessica, you can go ahead and I'll field questions afterwards. These are some other resources for survivors and caregivers. You got the Cancer Survivor Network, which is csn.cancer.org. You also have Reach to Recovery, which is also on the website. Also, there's an app, ACS Reach, for any cancer survivors out there that want to talk to someone that may be going through what you're going through. And of course, cancer.org is a very good web page for you to just search anything that you're looking for, and this also for your event too as well. If you're looking for literature, you need the topics to talk about in your mission moments, you can use cancer.org as a resource for you, for your survivors. So I kind of went through that really quickly because I want to leave about a few minutes to field any questions, because I went through there, like I said, real fast. But I'm going to open it up now for any questions about survivors and caregivers. You guys are awfully quiet. I'm looking at the notes now. Community outreach is a must, and I think we need to engage survivors and caregivers prior to the relay event. Absolutely. Not just when you need them there. This is the biggest thing that survivors say they love about coming to relay when talking to them. Okay, oncologies. Okay.
Sharon, I have something that I was new to me this year that I'd like to share. One of the events that we support, I was working with them on what they were wanting as far as a survivor recognition gift. Sometimes we've done pins, sometimes we've done medals or shirts or other goodie bags. And for the first time in the events that I had supported, they didn't want medals, they didn't want pins, they didn't want anything. And they actually told me, they're like, I know I'm a cancer survivor, and I come because I enjoy it, and I'm fighting against cancer because I don't want my family to go through what I went through. But they're like, the
Hmm.
pins are great, the medals are great, but I would rather just come and just take my lap and have a good time. So it actually brought back to my attention, because I've been in relay for so long. I felt like so many times we were focusing the relay around what we were doing for survivors, that it really made me sit back and think, you know what? We need to maybe get some feedback from survivors that if they say they don't want a medal, they might not want the medal. It's okay. Just give it to the next
Hmm.
person. And so, like you said, to respect their
Hmm.
communication. So that was a good point too, that it was new to me that I thought I would share.
That's great. That's great information because I'm a survivor and I go to events when I was going to face events and I would turn down the medal. I didn't want it. I mean, that's okay. I mean, if I had the medal for the first time, I don't want it the second, third. But some people collect medals. I mean, I'm not gonna knock them for wanting to keep medals and collect them, but I just didn't want that. Everybody has a different need. Just like when I was going through cancer, the need that I had was not to be in a support group. My need was information. The more information I got, the better I felt. The more, everybody has a personal need. Just like I said, I went through all the different needs of survivors. They all come to your relay with needs, but you would never know if you never talk to them and find out what those needs are.
It looks like Lise has her hand up.
I was going to throw out one idea that one of our survivor groups, support groups, actually came up with this for a relay. And because we were asking them some ideas of some kind of different ceremony versus one speaker or two, and what they came up with, they're very artistic group. Jessica's actually saw this one, but they came up with the idea. They took posters, the survivors, a whole group of them, and on one side of the posters, they would have like a hook statement, something like, I was pregnant when I found out I had cancer. Then they would flip it over and they said, I'm here to see him graduate from high school. And they would just very
Oh
quickly,
man.
each one of them come up there. One said, this year I went to my 20-year reunion in high school as a 15-year survivor. I'll never forget the
Mm.
man that had one that said, my wife is such a nag. And then he flipped it over and said, she made me take my PSA test. Um, Another lady came
Right.
up and she had a sign that said, I'm a 10. And then she flipped it over and said, breast cancer survivor. So
Mm.
it was just all these very creative statements. I still have pictures from that. But they got to a lot of the survivors participate actually in the survivor ceremony. And it all was something, it got everybody's attention, but it was also a big celebration. It was high level energy. And by the end of it, they're all up on stage just screaming and cheering.
Mhm. Great, fantastic. Met them at their like we've been talking through all this the summit, meet them where they are. Meet them right where they are, where their needs are. You'd be surprised you can build something around just if you just I'm a big observer. I'll sit back and just watch people. Just observe, what's going on and you'll be surprised because we can't assume what they want. Assume they want medals and sashes, you know. Oh, the gosh, Jessica. So Jessica, I love the ceremony. So those that may be on the phone, I'll read what you said. I love the ceremony that has the survivors line up behind less than 5 years tenure, etc. Then we start with the oldest survivor ship group and have them turn to show the group before they bring hope. And then at the end, the newly diagnosed has a whole group of survivors showing them they made it, and it's a living proof of hope. It's not a club anyone wants to be a part of, but there is hope. You'd be surprised. Mm, thank you, Jessica. That's a good one. So anybody is 6:01. Anybody else have any more questions or statements or thoughts, inspirations, concerns? Yeah, the resources will, Babette, the resources will be sent out, so you will definitely get those. And anything else I can really think of that I didn't include, I'll make sure I add them to the resources. Well, thank you all. Thank you all for participating and putting in the chat, the things that you're thankful for and things that you love about the your relays and survivors. So we can all do better. It's just staying in touch with them because you never know what they're going through at the time you may reach out to them. People are getting diagnosed second, third times. Thank you all.
Sharon, you did a fantastic job and
Thank
congrats on
you.
almost 10 years. For those of you that
Yeah.
don't know Sharon, she lives in California. She's one of our staff partners. It's amazing, works with a lot of our events in Nevada and out west. She has a gorgeous new granddaughter that we're all obsessed with.
I
So,
made them stay upstairs.
so I've noticed no cute grandbaby and no puppy running around. But if
He's
anyone
here.
else wants if anyone else wants to share any ideas, this is a huge impactful part. I remember at different times, just when we talk about reinventing relay, people saying, if you've been to one relay, you've been to them all. So that this gives us an idea. Sharon's given us a lot of ideas. How can we challenge ourselves in our community to make a difference in survivors and caregivers, but especially, I don't know about you, but one of the hardest things for me is when I meet someone who was diagnosed with cancer and they're like, well, I didn't even know that existed, or I didn't know that was here. I didn't know that was a resource. That hurts because we are here to put on a great event. We are here to put on some great community fundraising and to raise money for research. But that research is what's impacting the people in our communities. And if they don't know about us, then we're not really doing our job. So you are the hope in your communities. You're what's keeping it alive. And that 1-800 number, memorize it. If you've not got it memorized, memorize it. And one cool thing about the 1-800 number now, if you didn't know, is they're actually doing almost FaceTime calls. So if you've got someone that calls in that needs to talk about cancer resources or transportation or lodging, because our Hope Lodges are starting to open up again, they actually will do FaceTime calls. So there's someone physically sitting there across the screen, just like a telehealth visit, to share with that. So it's pretty awesome to know that. But if you have any ideas, feel free to stay on and share. We'll record until everyone leaves. We will share all these recordings, and we look forward to seeing everyone tomorrow night.
Thank
I'm going
you
to go
all.
put my kids to bed. Good night, everyone.
Bye,
I
everybody.
joke I'm
Thank
going
you
to
so
put them to
much.
bed. I think they've been eating
Thank you.
Halloween candy since we've been on.
Uh-oh.
Good
Uh-oh.
night.
I see a lot of Three Musketeer wrappers. And
All right. See you tomorrow.
good night. See you tomorrow.
Thank you. Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Bye,
Thank you.
Michelle and
Bye-bye.
Mary. Bye, Sharon.
Bye.
You did a great job. Great job.
Thank you, Jessica. I was talking fast, though, trying to get through the 30 minutes.
You're fine. I'm the same way. And I don't even mean to talk fast. I just do. So